So this is for Saxon Math 5, Lesson 72. We are looking at area, Part 1. So when you're looking at area of a shape, you will normally have, let's say, a square. And let's say it says this is a 2 centimeter square and 2 centimeter square. Now, when you're doing perimeter, you do the outside of a shape. So I would add up all the edges. When you're doing the area, you're doing the inside of the shape. How I do that is area equals length times width. Okay, if it's length times width, I am doing the length times the width. So this in this case would be 2 times 2, which would make 4. Now this is 4 centimeters because these are centimeters, and it's also centimeters squared. The reason it's centimeters squared is because what you're actually doing is counting how many 1 centimeter squares are inside this box. So when we do this otherwise, you'll see something like this, and it'll be 2 squares by 2 squares. And if this was a beautiful and perfect drawing, then this would be 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. And so I'm counting how many 1 centimeter squares are inside this box, and that is why it is centimeters squared. If this was inches, I'd be doing how many 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch squares are inside the box, and it'd be 4 inches squared, because all you're doing is counting how many squares are inside the box. As your shapes get bigger and bigger and bigger, we don't necessarily want to count anymore. We go to multiplying, which is where length times width comes in. If you have a shape that is 30 centimeters by 25 centimeters, what you are doing is you are doing area is length times width. So we're counting how many 1 centimeter squares is inside this rectangle. Now, instead of drawing all of them out and counting them, I am just going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply 25 by 30. And I'm going to use the offset method that we've used in class, which means I get to ignore the 0 for a moment, and I'm just going to continue with 3. So 3 times 5 is 15, carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and then I'm going to add that 0 in at the end, which gives me 750 centimeters squared, because I have just, if you will, counted the squares inside the box. Next example. Next example, we have a box that is, oh, let's draw that a little bit better. "14 feet by 13 feet. All right, so 13 by 14, again, area equals length times width, which means I am timesing 14 by 13. Now I can't do the offset method for this because it doesn't end in a 0, so I have to do 2-digit multiplication. So we go 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. I have used the 3, which means I am now out of the ones column, so I have a 0 there because I'm now timesing everything by 10. 10 times 4, or 1 times 4, so 4. 1 times 1 is 1. Add these together, 2, 8, and 1. So I have 182 feet squared, because I am still counting the squares, the 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot square inside of this shape. Now, in your book, it writes this a little bit differently. In your book, it would write this 182 square feet. This is how it writes it inside the book. This is how I was taught to write it. I will accept both of these on a test and in any of your work. I do have to do a little bit more research on exactly which one they want you to use more broadly in life. Right now, either of these will work. I will make a follow-up video with exactly which one we need, but right now, either will work. But just in case you see this inside your book, that is the same as this. And that is the end of lesson 72. Just remember that area is length times width.